Today's deck is budget friendly, counters the meta, single prize focused, and definitely not an inconsistent pile. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to CLEO's Network. Today I'm trying to counter the current metagame with an Inteleon toolbox deck that I've built to try to beat Lugia VSTAR and Mew VMAX decks, as well as at least go toe-to-toe with Lost Box variants. As always, the full deck list will be linked down below, but let's take a look at some of the key cards for this deck. This is called an Inteleon Toolbox because we will be using the Inteleon line to set up our board and get whatever cards we need in specific situations. This will mostly be a reactive deck, but you can make some proactive plays with this deck. I'm typically going to be choosing to go second so we can use Keep Calling on turn 1 to fill our bench with Sobbles, and from there we can evolve into Drizziles and Inteleons to get whatever trainer cards we need from our deck. And I'm also playing a quick shooting Inteleon to place damage counters on the opponent's Pokemon, because this could be very good for setting up multi-prize turns against other single prize decks. To go along with that strategy of quick shooting, I also have Medicham with Yoga Loop here. Put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon, and if your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by this attack, take another turn after this one. Yoga Loop can be a very devastating attack to unsuspecting players, especially when combined with the quick shooting Inteleon. Another card that I considered adding to this deck for this combo is Galarian Zigzagoon for its Headbutt Tantrum ability, but I'm very early in testing with this deck, and I want to try to keep it as consistent as possible while also having the necessary tech cards. Radiant Charizard is going to be the strongest attacker in this deck in most scenarios, but we can't rely only on Radiant Charizard in case we come up against a deck playing Lost City that can send this to the Lost Zone. Radiant Charizard has the Excited Heart ability that lets its attacks cost less for each prize card your opponent has taken, and Combustion Blast does 250 damage. We will be playing one Magma Basin in this deck that can attach a fire energy from the discard to one of our benched fire Pokemon, which will be Radiant Charizard. And another way to accelerate energy in this deck will be with the Raihan supporter card. Zeraora's Fighting Lightning will be able to knock out Lugia VSTAR in just one hit as long as it has a choice belt on it, and we can try to take care of the Dunsparce that our opponent may play with the quick shooting Inteleon plus Yoga Loop, or we can even cross switcher the Dunsparce up and knock it out with just about any of our Pokemon, since the opponent's Lugia decks will almost never play away to get back the Dunsparce after it's knocked out one time. This is still a very early draft of the deck, but I wanted to test it out in today's video and see what you all think about it. So let me know in the comments down below. Are there cards that you think should be in this list? Is there anything in the list currently that you think is unnecessary? I'll be happy to hear any feedback on the deck. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for daily Pokemon TCG content and check out my wonderful sponsors. Links are in the description down below. Game 1, we start with Snorlax, and we're already up against Lugia, so this is our target audience to hit with this deck. We've got 2 Sobbles down, and we can attach to 1 so we have an easy retreater next turn if they do knock out this Snorlax in the, that's in the active. And so we don't really need to do much on turn 1. A Keep Calling would have been nice, but we have 2 Sobbles, that's good enough. The opponent is going to get a Marnie there with Lumineon, so it looks like maybe they're not going to be getting a turn 2 Summoning Star. No, they're just going to read the Wind. So we'll just continue setting up. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to start taking prizes. They already have two prize Pokemon on the board. Of course, they can shuffle the Lumineon back in, but they have the Lugia out there already, so we know that we're going to be taking 2 prizes at some point, at least one time this game. So we can just sit here and establish a nice, safe board that we can respond to whatever they do next turn with the help of cards like Raihan and Scoop Up Net. We can really just chain a lot of card searches together and get the counter cards that we need next turn, whether that's going to be Zeraora or Radiant Charizard. Do note that this game we prized 1 Raihan and 1 Choice Belt. So we do play 2 Raihan, 2 Choice Belt. Both of those cards are very important in this deck. Would love to have 3 of each of them, but there's just not enough room. So you kind of just have to deal with cards being prized when you're playing with a counter kind of toolbox deck like this one. The opponent evolves up into Lugia VSTAR, so it looks like they will be using Summoning Star this turn, just for a single Archeops. And I think against a single prize deck like ourselves, like what we're playing, that just one Archeops should be able to suffice for this game for them. But honestly, even if they had two Archeops set up, I'm not sure that really would change much for the outcome of this matchup. We're going to be heavily favored into Lugia decks. So quick ball for the Zeraora, and we can Raihan that lightning energy. It's important to make sure that you're able to get the right kinds of energies into the discard or be able to search them out when you need them. And Fighting Lightning will take an easy knockout there on that Lugia VSTAR. This turn they can attack with the Luminion to knock out our active Zeraora, which means they can get that 2 prize liability off of their board. They've also set up a Radiant Charizard on their bench, which will be a pretty good attacker, but we have our own Charizard, so I'm not worried. And also Charizard's weak to Inteleon. Something very important to keep in mind when you're playing with this kind of single prize Inteleon based deck is that Aqua Bullet is a very good attack. Aqua Bullet is going to set up most things for a 2-shot knockout. If you Aqua Bullet them and then hit with Snorlax, or hit with Charizard, or hit with Zeraora, or hit with another Inteleon plus Choice Belt plus a quick shooting, this math is going to add up and be really significant, so don't overlook the Aqua Bullet attack as an option. So here I'm kind of planning what to do, and sometimes it takes a couple seconds to figure out what the best move is, but I saw this line of play where we just go double cross switcher and knock out that Charizard with our Inteleon with Aqua Bullet, like I just mentioned. So I'm gonna Ordinary Rod, get the board set up. So it's always nice to have a Drizzile ready to go so that it can always evolve into an Inteleon if we need it to. So I like to have a Sobble and a Drizzle on board. And then we're going to be leaving the Inteleon active, so we could always Clara for that Inteleon back if we need to get 2 different trainer cards next turn. But we're in a very commanding position here. We have a Mew with an air balloon, so we can always get an item that way. And we have a level ball to get a Drizzile. And the opponent does just scoop there. So on to the next game. That's game 1 against Lugia. And the opponent flips over an unfortunate starter here, Drapion V. And they are playing an Arceus deck. Attach double turbo to the Arceus and pass it on over. So unfortunately, I don't have any energy here, so I can't keep calling like I would love to do. So I'm just going to have to manually search out those Sobbles with some level balls, and I'll also bench that Zeraora since it has free retreat, so it's really great to just send on up when something gets knocked out. Big Parasol attached to the Arceus since they were going to dump it anyway with research, and then bench a Duraludon. So we are playing against an Arceus Duraludon with 1 Drapion V teched into there for the Mew matchup. And you might think that Drapion V seems like overkill. Why do we need Drapion in an Arceus Duraludon deck when Duraludon can't be hit by special energies? Well, Mews play Path to the Peak, and they play Echoing Horn, so it's actually not that great of a matchup in this metagame for Arceus Duraludon with the way Mew VMAX decks are currently being built. And there's our free retreater Zeraora, so we'll just send that on up. And I believe we can take a knockout this turn with the Radiant Charizard. So here I'm just checking what's prized, what cards do I have available right now up until I take some prize cards. And Irida is going to be really great because I can go get a Drizzile, which gets me any trainer card, and Irida itself gets me an item. So that item's going to be an energy search, and I'm going to go ahead and keep calling. So I didn't have enough pieces to get that knockout with Charizard this turn because they had only taken 1 prize card so far, but that's fine. As long as I don't go behind too much, this next turn, if I start attacking, that'll be great. You also never want to rely on only Inteleon, so that's why we never preemptively use those evolution incenses. We hold on to them until we see what our opponent does. They bossed up the Drizzile and knocked it out because they thought maybe that would hurt them, or hurt us, but it does not end up affecting us much. So we're going to go ahead and evolve this Drizzile and get a rare candy, because we can rare candy down the Inteleon and search for any 2 trainer cards. So we get Scoop Up Net because that's going to help us put that fire energy into the discard pile that's on the Drizzile, and then we can replay down that Drizzile to get another trainer card. So important to know how to get those energies into the discard pile. You can retreat Pokemon, you can Scoop Up Net them, or you can just quick ball away the energies if they're not already in the discard pile. But to activate Raihan, you are going to need a basic energy in there, so start planning ahead, maybe with those early attachments like I did on that Sobble, because I knew I could either retreat it or just Scoop Up Net it to activate the Raihan later. And so we will attach Choice Belt, Raihan, attach Twin Energy, get the Combustion Blast knockout with the Radiant Charizard. And they will come back and hit us with the Duraludon, and it's at 3 prizes to 4 right now, and this looks really good for me because I can just 2-shot this Duraludon, and then they have that unfortunate Drapion. But if you were in a position here where, let's say, they have a Duraludon V on the bench instead of the Drapion, we would want to cross-switcher the Duraludon and knock it out while it's a V with the Charizard, because that's a 1-shot, and then we can just get this easy 2-shot knockout on the active Duraludon. But do keep in mind that Duraludon plays Crystal Caves and also Hyper Potions, so you are going to want to be doing the maximum damage every turn in case of healing, which is why I'm attacking with a Charizard here to do 250 and not something weaker like the Fighting Lightning or the Inteleon Aqua Bullet. And since they didn't get anything else down that turn, this is going to be really easy for us. We'll just knock out that Duraludon VMAX, and our Charizard only needs 1 energy now since they've taken 4 prizes. So we'll just use Charizard. And since we also already have the Magma Basin that can just accelerate that energy. And then all we need to do now is knock out the Drapion V. Of course, something to keep in mind is you can't use Combustion Blast with the same Radiant Charizard twice in a row. And if they don't bench anything else, I can't use Cross Switcher to switch my Radiant Charizard if they have no bench. So this Charizard will just be stuck there in the active because I believe I'm out of Scoop Up Nets at this point. So this will probably just be an easy pass. Let the opponent do whatever they want, but I'll just take a knockout next turn with Radiant Charizard and win the game. I don't think they have any way possible to win this game. And most decks aren't ready to face a single prize deck with responsive answers like this. So you'll probably find yourself in a lot of positions where you have essentially put your opponent into a checkmate position that they can't get out of. As long as you're playing right and keeping on pace with the prize cards that you need to take to win the game in the end. So here we just Clara, and that's the game, because we'll get our Charizard, we'll get a Fire Energy, attach it, 250 Combustion Blast, GG on the Drapion V. And now in our next game, we've got another Lugia deck. They just go draw pass for their first turn, and we're going to keep calling. Beautiful, beautiful setup. And just because a Lugia deck passes doesn't mean they have a bad hand. They could have 2 Archeops and a Research. So they do evolve into Lugia VSTAR. And they get an Archeops. Play down Collapsed, and look at that. They get Archeops into the discard pile. They play Research. But do they not want to settle for just 1 Archeops with Summoning Star? If they do settle for just 1 Archeops, we're going to return Knockout with a Zeraora, so they're going to pass. And we can't do much if they don't knock us out because we can't use Raihan. So we're just going to retreat, get an item card off the top, start getting some Drizziles down so that when we need to, we can evolve into Inteleon, which gets us more item cards and more trainer cards. But we actually prized both the Sword and Shield and the Chilling Reign Inteleon this game, so we aren't going to be able to do that. But they have already played 1 Marnie. Most Lugia decks are playing 2 Marnies, so as long as they don't have their other Marnie or decide to play down a Lumineon to get their other Marnie, our hand is probably safe, and we've built a very strong hand here for our next turn, after they presumably knock something out. So Quick Ball, and they'll get a Stoutland V. So I think they'll try to knock out this Mew for 2 prizes, but that's fine. You don't want to do that because we'll just get 2 prizes ourselves, and it doesn't really do much for them. All they did was put another 2 prizer on the board, and I'll just take advantage of that pretty easily with Charizard, because they took 2 prizes, so Charizard won't be hard at all to attack with. Like I said, just remember you need to get that energy into the discard pile to use Raihan or Magma Basin, so have a plan on how that energy is getting into the discard pile. So I think last turn I already saw that my Inteleon was prized, so I'm just going to do this scoop up net instead. And I can use double turbo. I don't even need twin energy, which is super nice. And I'll probably just get something that'll help me next turn. Yeah, I just got Magma Basin because that'll be great for next turn. Bench another Sobble because Collapse Stadium's gone. And take the knockout on the Stoutland going 4-4. Now they have another 2 prizer that they're sending up. Great, we love seeing 2 prize Pokemon. They benched Dunsparce. Not really a problem. If we had our Chilling Reign and Inteleon, we'd probably try to make a nice quick shooting into Yoga Loop play happen here. Unfortunately, quick shooting Inteleon is prized, and that's not going to happen. So we're just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way and take a nice knockout with Charizard again, because Charizard's broken. If the opponent isn't going to play Lost Cities, we can just keep getting this Radiant Charizard back. It's quite beautiful, actually. So a nice 2 prizes into 2 prizes, and then next turn we can just do it all over again because we have cross switchers in this deck, so we can gust up their Lugia V on the bench if they don't leave it in the active for us and take the knockout with Radiant Charizard. They have a Radiant Charizard of their own, but I think they can just knock us out with the Arceus Speedwing. Yep, and we'll send out our free retreater Zeraora. So nice to have that free retreat. And we'll just get cross switcher Clara. It's as easy as that. We Clara for our Charizard and our fire energy, and we attach and we double cross switcher, choice belt, bring up the Lugia, bada bing, bada boom. The Lugia is down and we won the game. Hope you guys enjoyed today's deck profile and gameplay with my new Inteleon Toolbox deck. I'm having a blast playing this deck, and it's really good against multi-prize decks. It's okay against single prize decks. The Snorlax is a great attacker against single prizers, and you also have the quick shooting plus Yoga Loop possibilities, which unfortunately I did not get to show off in today's video. But take this deck for a spin if you have the cards and you're interested in a single prize counter deck like this. I think you'll really enjoy it, and it's also pretty challenging to play, so you'll probably become a better player and learn some things along the way with this style of deck. So thank you all for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time here on Celio's Network.